Hello, welcome back to the channel. I have not been here for a very long time, but I'm back now and I'm ready to start doing videos again. In this video today, I'm gonna talk about the books that got me into writing and reading consistently. And because reading consistently is the starting point for every writer, because you cannot write without reading, just like you cannot breathe out but without breathing in. So let's get into it. And basically, when I tell people that I write, there's always that one question that they always ask me, and that is, how did you get into writing? How does someone get into something like that? Why would you write? What do you write? And I have this template story that I always tell every person that asks me that question. And that story is that when I was about 11, I was already reading books like the Mary Kate and Ashley books, but I was not reading consistently. So I hadn't found that book that got me hooked yet. My uncle was working on a movie and he sent me this book, and it was signed by Daniel Radcliffe. I didn't know who this person was, and I had a sticky note on it from my uncle that said, I am working on this movie, this is the book, you should check it out, I think you'll like it. So it was Chamber of Secrets, and we found out that it was the second book, so my mother got me the first. And ever since I read Harry Potter, I started this passion for books, and I've had a book with me every day since then, since I was 11 years old, which is like 100 years ago. I've always had a book with me. I've always been reading, and I read on a good week 2 books a week, and even more if I'm interested or I have the time. And Harry Potter was, well, J.K. Rowling was the person who got me into reading, and ever since then I've been so into Harry Potter and the whole world. It created a whole new world for me to go into. I've always been the kind of person that wanted to get away just a little bit from everyday life and immerse in a world that can never be real, but is very real inside my head. And Harry Potter was just that. It was a world that I could get into, and suddenly when it was like 4 years later, when I was about 14 or 15, and I started to realize that there are stories that I wanted to read that were not printed. So what did I do? I started writing myself. In fact, teachers thought I was writing school stuff, when actually I was drafting my first ever book about it never got published. It was about a dead woman in a lake, I think it was something like that. Ever since then I've been writing and writing. I have about 15 stories that I started and never finished, and only one that is about to be published in the beginning of next year. Stay tuned to this channel, because I will tell you when the dates are revealed and when the cover is revealed, and I will link my website below so that you can get all the information about that. My favorite Harry Potter book would have to be Order of the Phoenix. That is the longest book of them, probably the longest book I have ever read. Maybe it was the longest, but anyway, it was one of the longest books I have ever read. It has so much information about the story, and it gives you a look into another person who will you learn to hate more than the villain. That's why I say that every Harry Potter fan cannot be a real fan of the story if they haven't read the books. Harry Potter is the only books, the only franchise that I have read more than once. And every time I read it, every time I see the movies, I realize that there is something I didn't get. And now I do. So yeah, and there are schools here where I live that actually have Harry Potter as their main assignment. The way that J.K. Rowling drafted the story and the way that she built this whole universe, and she has so many fans that have fell in love with this story, made me fall in love with books and fall in love with writing. And basically, if you would like to be an author and you haven't been reading too much, it could be that you haven't found the right book to get you started. And you ask me, were you good in school? Well, I was very average in school, and actually the assignments that I was giving, I wasn't that good in it because I didn't like what they gave me to write. Me as an author, I would say that I will write page after page in a few minutes if it's something that I want to write about. But if you give me something like a title that I have to write about, I will probably stand there watching it for an hour and won't have anything creative to write, because that was not my idea. Having said that, yes, if I am giving many titles and I look at them, I may get some ideas. But yes, you as an author, you still can come to a point where you say, listen, I don't know what I'm going to write. You have to wait for that push, that thing in your mind that tells you, oh, I need to write about this. I need to get it out of me, the idea that you have, I need to get it out of me. And that is basically what happens with me. That is what happened when I started to write my first book. I was like eating dinner, I saw a commercial, I got the idea, listen, I would really love to hear a story about this. Whether it was a movie or a book, I would love to get into this. So I started writing it 10 years ago, and it still didn't get published because I was so afraid that if people read it, I would get so much hate. But all of a sudden, ever since I started to make videos and go on Instagram, I realized that people don't really care what you're doing. If it's good, some people will like it, some people will hate it. You will get either way, even if it's the best book. J.K. Rowling herself said that Harry Potter was denied publishing 9 or 12 times. So if that kind of book can get a bunch of no's, then maybe if you get a no, it's not that big of a deal, because there is someone that will like it, there is someone that will eventually want to read it. And yes, you need to write it, you need to get it out. That is what I feel right now, and that is what I'm doing with my book that will be out very soon. If you haven't read Harry Potter, please try it out, because I think it has something for everyone, and I do recommend it. I give it big 5 stars for all those who want to get into reading, and especially if you are still very young, like 11 years old, you will love this book. It develops and turns into something that you don't see coming. Anyway, that is my video for today. That is what I wanted to talk to you about, the thing that got me into writing. And if you like writing but you still haven't started out, just put pen to paper. You don't need anything else, but you do need to read. In order to write, you need to read. It's like I said, breathing in is reading and breathing out is writing. If you haven't read Harry Potter yet, it is a story about a boy who finds out he is a wizard and is catapulted into a world where he is famous and where everybody knows him for something that happened to him when he was just a baby. There is a whole story behind it. There is a lot to find out, and there is something to find out on every character. It isn't just about the main character, even though it is called Harry Potter and blah blah blah. It isn't just about Harry. It is about all the characters and the importance that they have within the story. That is what I love about this book, because my favorite character isn't even the main character. So that is what happens when you read this book. You learn to love every character, and you may think you know the character, but it turns out he or she is very different. You will realize what I'm saying if you read the book. And if you read the book, I want you to leave a comment, and if you are a Potterhead like myself, leave a comment, tell me which house you are in. I am a proud Ravenclaw. And if you like my video, click on that like and subscribe button. I will see you on the next one.